I woke up to my boyfriend's mom screaming at me to tell her where he was. This is a really long one, so here we go. Some background information. My boyfriend used to live really close to my house, but recently him and his family moved to a different state. His mom, although, stayed here temporarily because of job. He now lives about 10 hours away. Also, his family has never really liked me. When they moved, I explained how sad I was that we couldn't spend the summer together, and he convinced his family to let him come back and stay with me for 2 weeks at the end of the summer. He left but had to come back sooner than expected because sadly my best friend I've known since childhood passed away. He come back both to comfort me and be here for the funeral. He only stayed about 4 days. This will be important. Now on to the story. The date of my boyfriend coming back was getting closer and closer. His mom was there visiting them and the plan was for him to ride back with her. But they didn't have a set date yet. I kept asking him to find out so I could schedule my days off from work around it. For some reason, every time I asked, he seemed a little annoyed and kept putting off asking. He isn't great at confronting his parents though, so eventually I just dropped it and decided I would see him when I saw him. We have each other on life 360, a couple days before he was supposed to leave. I checked his location to see if he was home so I could call him. For some reason he was at the airport. I messaged some people about it, and they all said he was probably coming early and surprising me, so I probably shouldn't say anything. I looked again later because the curiosity was killing me and he was leaving the airport. I thought it was weird but didn't say anything. He called me once he got home and curiosity overcame me, so I asked why he was there. Here is where the big lies started. When I asked why they were at the airport, he got a little bit defensive and said, "I don't know, we just drove past. I don't pick the route we take." Even though it seemed really weird and was sure he had stopped there for a while, I said okay. And once again, despite my better judgment, dropped it. Finally, he told me when he was leaving and I was so excited. The night before he insisted he needed to go to sleep early. I asked why when he usually doesn't do that. Because he sleeps a lot on the car ride and doesn't drive all that much. He said he would be doing most of the driving this time and I said okay. The next morning I checked his location right away to see how close they were. It said his location had been turned off. I thought that was weird but once again ignored it. He wasn't snapping me at all, so I assumed he was driving. When he did occasionally snap me, it would be very zoomed in on his face and I could barely see anything else. Weird, but I ignored it. Nothing else weird happened for a while until Elle asked where they were. He refused to tell me and told me it was a surprise and I would know when he got here. That he finally texted me and told me he had stopped to sleep. I asked where and he didn't want to tell me and said that it would ruin the surprise. I told him that it wouldn't since I didn't know what time they would even wake up and get back on the road. Finally, he told me where he was close to. I asked if they were staying in a hotel and he told me no. He said his mom was sleeping in her car and that he was sleeping somewhere nearby in his hammock. He takes it everywhere ISTG. I told him I didn't think it was safe and he assured me it was fine. I let it go and asked him to show me where it was. We were snapping back and forth. He left me unopened and about 5 minutes later he called me and said it wouldn't send because he didn't have very good service. That night I absolutely couldn't sleep. My insomnia mixed with my excitement that I would wake up to my boyfriend being here ended up keeping me awake until 5 o'clock in the morning. At 6:30 I woke up to a call from his mom. I answered half asleep and she immediately started yelling at me asking where he was. My stomach dropped and I was wide awake in seconds despite my hour and a half of sleep. But I tried to remain calm. As I was trying to calm her down, I ran to my front door to look outside. I thought maybe he was already there and trying to prank me. As soon as I looked out the door and realized he wasn't, I almost threw up. I told her he was just sleeping in his hammock because I didn't understand what was going on. I still hadn't put anything together because I trusted him with my whole heart. Finally, she slowed down a little and asked me if I even knew what happened. I said no, and she finally told me. He had ran away. Immediately, all the pieces of this weird messed up puzzle fell into place. Let's go to my boyfriend's perspective for a minute. When his mom got to where his family is to visit them, she and his dad talked. They ended up telling him they decided he didn't need to come back anymore since he already had for the funeral, and that was enough. He decided then and there he was coming to see me one way or another. No matter what. About a week later, they went to the airport to drop off his mom. The next day he got on a bus. His parents called him and said they had called the police. He got off the bus at the next bus stop because he knew sooner or later there would be police at every bus stop looking for him. So he started hitchhiking because he didn't want to sleep in the car. I said okay, we told each other goodnight, and hung up. Back to me. I started panicking and his mom wasn't helping at all. I started blowing up his phone, but he wouldn't answer. This part's a bit hazy because I was so scared. She basically told me to call her when I found out anything, and I told her okay. He finally called me almost 2 hours later and I asked him through sobs what was going on and where he was. He played dumb and asked what I was talking about. I told him that his mom told me everything and he stayed silent. Finally, I said, I know you ran away. He let out a frustrated sigh and finally told me where he was. He was only 2 hours from my house. I let him know I had to tell his mom, and he wasn't angry but wasn't happy either. I called her and told her and everything. After that, everything went kinda crazy. This is a long enough post already. But if anyone cares enough to know what happened, next I'll make a second post. Thank you for watching this video.